From LALATE News Headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
Breaking news this morning on Mornings LALATE. The President of the United States gets his fourth stimulus push that he wants for that fourth stimulus check. The fourth stimulus check package got another series of publicity moves today. A series of new videos released to the White House about the fourth stimulus check and fourth stimulus package. I'll be going over those videos from the White House. 1, a publicity video. 2, a press briefing. 3rd, a discussion about what's going on with the president and the Democrats and the Republicans. Meantime, when considering the fourth stimulus check and fourth stimulus package, a series of new comments and reports today about the booming economy. I'll analyze that detail as well. It all impacts how quickly the bill can get to the Senate across the board. The week unfolded with a series of conflicting good news and bad news for stimulus. Great economic data and bad economic data. How do we know what's going on and who will get those fourth stimulus checks? How much will you get them? How will they be routed? And how soon could you see them out the door? Of all this analysis and more, as a big day unfolds, we go into a big morning across the board as stimulus is heating up. And with that, the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and the coffee is brewing. It's a big day, and the big day starting a morning right across the board as Mornings LA gets underway right
From
now.
Wall Street to
with
Main
a lot of
Street.
exciting details
This
starting right
is
now. Good morning, everybody. The toast is toast and the butter is buttering. I'm here, you're here, and you didn't bring me any bacon again. But if you tuned into my Instagram story on the Friday night, it's still there today. You can see someone else brought me bacon, and they brought it to me at the beach. Go to my Instagram story right now to see why I'm laughing about someone literally finally brought LA some bacon while I was at the beach yesterday. And it's bacon literally. How are you? It's a Saturday morning. Thank you for joining me, and it's a big day of Mornings LA. So much exciting, great news as the President of the United States debuts not one, but 2 videos today, Saturday, about fourth stimulus, and away we go. The push is underway, and next week is a major week, and wow, what a week it was going into today, because he debuted his cabinet members one after another to push for fourth stimulus, and guess what he released today? A video featuring all 4 cabinet members again. So away we go. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. We're approaching our 1-year anniversary. It's a birthday month here on this channel. So we're trying to get to 400,000 subscribers. We're at 293. Almost about 100 away from 293, so let's do it. About 7,000 more to go. Also, like this video and consider becoming a member of Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Let's get right to the big news. First, who gets a stimulus check and who would qualify for the stimulus check? Let's get right to that detail to start off the discussion. Who would get a fourth stimulus? The 21 of 50 Democratic senators want to give everyone who got a third stimulus check a fourth stimulus check. Pretty easy. So if you're an individual, you make less than $75,000, you would get this stimulus check. If you're a household size of 4 or less, you would get this stimulus check. If you're on SSI or SSDI, Social Security or railroad benefits, you would get a stimulus check. How does this manifest itself, and who are the pushing forces? The pushing forces are 2 groups of people. House Democrats and Senate Democrats. House Democrats want you to have stimulus checks monthly, but all the way into the end of next year. Yes, next year. But the Senate Democrats, which are doing the most likely proposition, want to give you stimulus checks. And what have they said? First, they want them to be monthly. Second, they want the qualifications to be as the same as the third stimulus check. Third, they want those stimulus checks to run to the end of this year, to December. And finally, they want to put it in at Votorama at the Senate landing. I'll explain what that procedural nuance is in just a second. But let's go back to who would get that stimulus check and how would that work. It's important to understand that this is you. Thank you, John Grenier, for the dancing pear. It's a morning, and away we go in a morning with some dancing pear. You know, you may be having that, you may be flipping the eggs and bacon and not sharing me bacon, but dance, get up and dance the kitchen right now if you're watching on your cell phone. Get up and dance. It's Saturday morning. It's not Saturday Night Live, it's Saturday Morning Live. I just made that up. I think I sort of like that. It's not Saturday Night Live. It's Saturday Morning Live. So away we go with the dancing pears. Thank you, John Grenier, for that. I really appreciate it. These monthly stimulus checks would go to everyone who single individual who makes 75,000 or married couple makes 150. Household, family of 4, child or adult dependents, and also if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and railroad benefits. What is the amount of money that we're talking about? Let's take first an initial look at the graphic, and then we'll come back to the graphic in just a little bit. But here's an overview of the graphic. We'll analyze this later in the video. Stay with me to the very end because I have a lot in this video. If they got this bill to a vote in June and got the checks out the door in July, that would give you 6 months. Remember, they want to give you monthly, and they want to give you to December. Well, what would be the monthly amount? They've not given us the monthly amount. Word on the street is they want to do $1,400 or $2,000 a month. So look at this moolah. I mean, just sort of sit there and, don't choke on the coffee. Just look at this look at this money. This is per person. It's an enormous payout. More about that in a second. But here's the real big issue is the speed of getting this bill to the Senate as soon as possible. You want it there as soon as possible because every month costs you a check, but you want it to get there before there's an economic rebound, number 2. And what is the new data coming out today? There's a series of reports talking today that we are in a booming economy now. Not in a few months from now, but right now. Tom Gimbel, an analyst, is detailed in a series of interviews today, and he says this economy isn't coming back. It is back. He's saying it is back right now. Get ready. He says the boom is already underway. He then says, I'll tell you this, that this is the most optimistic job market I've ever seen. That's Kimball's remark. He's not referring to what the president's proposing for jobs in the future. He's talking about right now. He says there's jobs everywhere. And then he refers to Jamie Dimon, who's head of J.P. Morgan Chase, one of the major banks in the United States. I detailed Dimon's remarks earlier in the week. I'll detail them in a second. He says Jamie Dimon is right. The economy is going to be on steroids for the rest of this year. The remainder of that sentence by Gimbel is that it's going to be on steroids next year as well. This comes after the producer price index number on growth of this economy was released early yesterday. It showed in the month of March we increased at a 1% rate when Wall Street expecting a growth rate of 0.4%. This was the highest growth data to data in nearly 10 years. This is enormous growth across the board. Now, here's what you need to know, and this is where we're going with this analysis, is that stimulus is supported by 21 of 50 Democrats who wrote the president a letter in January, said it again in February, and wrote another letter in March. It's all supported by Democratic House members who introduced the bill just late in March. I detailed that a lot in this channel as well. It was Jalapal and the other, here she is, and her colleagues in the House introduced that reoccurring stimulus check, Jalapal and Talib. Now, here's what you need to know. If you see at the top of that article, it's dated March 23rd. This is what's the key issue, is not so much the check, but the date. Okay, you need stimulus checks monthly right now, March, April. Here's the problem. When does this become a non-starter? When does the economy rebound so strongly that those Democrats will get cold feet potentially and say, no, the economy's rebounded. I don't think we need stimulus checks anymore. Well, it's not now. That's not a concern for the month of April. It's not a concern for the month of May. It is a concern for the month of December, and it is a concern for the month of October and November. But what about those summer months? This is the problem, is that as you and I sit here and economists on Wall Street bicker back and forth, It's too hard to tell if this economy is going to be fully restored in July or August or not. And what you and I need to know is that it's too risky to wait for this bill to get to the Senate that late, because the economy could be rebounded. And if it is rebounded, you won't get stimulus checks. Let me explain how this week unfolded and what yesterday unfolded with. Every day this week, we start the day with really lousy economic news. It shows the economy is in dire straits. And then we have great economic news that shows the economy is in great condition and booming. The takeaway is that no one can really gauge where this economy will be by July, and you don't want to risk it. So when would this bill go to a vote, LALATE? Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi say July. Now, taking away the whole issue of rebounding economy, if you've been with this channel since last year, you remember what July was. July was when I was making all the jokes about keeping your foot in the jacuzzi and sipping Mai Tais and at a Tahitian villa while Mitch McConnell sang karaoke. Remember all those jokes? Yeah. They weren't very funny after a while. Why? Because every week went on and they took another vacation. Remember? They took a vacation in July and then another one in July and then like 20 in August. And what kept on going on? They're on vacation a lot starting in July, and they don't come back into full force until September. Remember when Nancy chased the Temple of Doom chased the postman last summer? Yeah, that was the best you got out of them, the work effort. One day to chase the postman. So you don't want them to hold this bill past July because they don't do a lot of work from July to September. That's another factor that you're hearing just today on this channel. So you want this bill to happen as soon as possible in that Senate. Let's go to what happened yesterday for this economic data. And the economic data is really quite surprising. Thank you for all the incredible comments and chats in the room. It's a full room today. And I see Linda and Victor, and there's Mary and Sonia and Myra and Gail and Steph, and there is Diane and Jennifer and Sherry and Selfie and Gail as well. Here, this was one of the bad news yesterday. Remember, I showed you the great news yesterday, the producer price index number, through the roof. Its sister is the CPI, which is going to be released next week. It will likely be through the roof. Great news as well. But yesterday had horrible news. The number of small businesses and medium-sized businesses in this United States economy lost in the month of February was 22%. Can you imagine? 22% of all small and medium-sized businesses that narrowly survived through this pandemic and got to February said, you know what? I'm done. I can't do this anymore. We're closing our doors forever. We lost 22% of our small and medium-sized businesses in February. That's the worst number since May of last year in the middle of the pandemic, which was 23% of businesses lost that month. So these are horrible numbers compared to really good numbers, meaning you can't gauge this economy. It's too hard to tell. What happened on Thursday and what happened last week? Well, last week on Friday, a week ago yesterday, we had the jobs numbers release. Remember, when we're talking about stimulus, there's two numbers and one issue that determines your stimulus, whether it's the president or the Congress or the Secretary of Treasury, or the head of Federal Reserve. One issue and two numbers determine your stimulus. The issue, jobs. The numbers, the monthly jobs numbers and the weekly unemployment numbers. Let me explain what that is. Once a month, we hear how many jobs are created in this economy. And then once a week, every Thursday, we hear how many new unemployment claims there are, which means how many people who newly went on unemployment and how many people are still on unemployment from the week before. Well, guess what happened in the last 7 days? The jobs numbers was absolutely wonderful, high, great news, and the unemployment numbers were horrible. If that is an example of how screwy this economy is, how one number on one side and another number on the other side for the same issue are good and bad, yes, you can't predict this economy. A week ago today, the jobs numbers came in at 1 million jobs created in the month of March. There's 8 million jobs lost from this pandemic. So 1 into 8 is 8 months. Well, that's okay, LA, isn't it? Yes, it is okay. It means that jobs would not be restored until 8 months from now, which is, end of this year. We're fine with that for purposes of stimulus checks. What we're not fine with is what Wall Street analysts said a week ago yesterday, which is that we could see 2 million jobs restored to this economy this month, in the month of April. If that's true, 2 million jobs restored per month. When 8 million are missing, 2 and 8 is 4 months. It means that if those analysts are right, in 4 months from now, all 8 million jobs could be restored. Guess what 4 months from now is? The summer. Again, why you want the bill in the Senate as soon as possible. That was the good news on that issue. And then Thursday morning came in the bad news on the issue. The number of new unemployment claims, horrible. Let's look at this. These are the numbers from Thursday morning. The 744,000 new people just went on unemployment for the very first time during this pandemic this last week. The prior week was 728. Wall Street was estimating we were going to improve, have less people going on to unemployment for the first time at 694. Not only do we not improve, we got worse, and we got worse by 50,000 jobs. It shows you how bad Wall Street is at anticipating or predicting or estimating this economy. It can't get it right. 50,000 was off. Let's look at the continuing job claims, which is a huge number. How many people are unemployed from the week before? There we are. 3.73 million people unemployed from the week before, which is basically a flat number because we only improved by 16,000. And then we had certain states, and the states aren't even predictable at this point. You would assume that California, which is reopening, has less unemployment claims. Oh, no. California led the nation with new unemployment claims at nearly 39,000. New York at 15,000. Alabama and Ohio were improving. And this is after this great data that was released yesterday, which showed from CDC late yesterday. It said now 20% of the United States is fully vaccinated, and 34% of the United States is halfway vaccinated with 1 dose when they need to do 2 doses. What's the takeaway? The takeaway is it's too hard to predict where this economy is going. You want this bill in the Senate as soon as possible. You don't want to risk it. Remember, those Democrats want you to have those monthly stimulus checks now when those jobs are missing and when those unemployment numbers are bad. Well, will they want to do that for you when those jobs are good and when those unemployment numbers are gone? Probably not. So when is that? You don't know. I don't know. It's too hard to risk, too important to risk it. That's why you want to push to get this bill in the Senate as soon as possible. I'll go over the routing to get this bill in the Senate as soon as possible, but here's what you need to recap, is that you want that stimulus to go out as soon as possible because it's a monthly check. You don't want the economy to rebound before they do this, and you want those jobs restored. How will they do this, and what is the process to get this done? I'll go over that in a second, but here let's go back to that graphic to understand the money at issue. It's a lot of money, and I'm going to explain more about this to you in a second. But the money at issue is stemming from really 6 months potentially of stimulus checks, July to December. Look at this. Just sip that coffee and don't choke on it while you look at this number. This number is bigger than FPUC Retro. This big number is bigger than SSI and SSDI $2,400. It's 6 times the amount of $2,400. This is more than hazard pay. This is an enormous amount of money. Sherry says, are they taking inflation into account for the booming economy? They are, and that's a great question, Sherry. So Sherry is basically saying, what about other economic factors? Yes, Sherry is doing an A-plus job. What she's saying is that, but LA, there's those other economic worries across the board. There are. So could that make the economy worse? It could make it worse. What you need to know is you don't need to worry about the economy getting worse. You need to worry about the economy getting too good, too fast, because too good, too fast means no stimulus checks. If it stays where it is, you're getting stimulus checks. If it gets too good, too fast, you're in danger of not getting stimulus checks. Sherry's absolutely on point. So inflation, rising bond, the 10-year Treasury note going up too high, Michigan has a massive resurgence of COVID cases, has to go on lockdown, apparently. Those type of things are all that help stimulus. None of them hurt it. My concern is when things for this economy are too good. That's when stimulus may be at issue. Coming up in a second is a little bit more about that analysis. Great questions. Drop more comments for me. And first, I want to show you a little bit about the community page, because there's money for you to get right now in the third stimulus. Rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, homeowners assistance. Here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. Drop some of your comments in the live chat. I'm watching you as well. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on Mornings LALATE. Kamora had a great question. I'll be answering that in 1 second. But there's Canute with a with the transistor R2D2, the thing I never know what it is. But it's an R2D2. Get up and do your R2D2 Star Wars dance. Good morning. How are you? It's Mornings LALATE. It's Saturday morning. Thank you for joining me. Kamora, did I say it right? It's Kamora, yes, Kamora asked a great question. Would they send this fourth stimulus out on debit cards? I think they should. Sanders and Harris, that's how they wanted to do it back in 2020. Their concept was send Americans a debit card and then replenish it every month. Don't send out paper every month, or don't send out, don't do electronic disbursements every month. Just refund the card. It's very common. That's how states will do unemployment. So this makes sense as well. One thing that I need you to know is that stimulus checks are not income. You do not have to pay taxes on it, so it would not impact your benefits whatsoever. Thank you for joining me on Mornings LALATE. If you're just joining, make sure you subscribe. I want you to be part of this community and be part along the way. Also, like this video. Let's try to do 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. The numbers at issue here show that the one parts of the economy is doing really well, another part of the economy may not be doing well. But what's important to understand is the president is pushing this week for stimulus to go out the door. And the question is how or when. Later in this recording, I'll explain to you how we actually get the stimulus checks in the stimulus package. Here was the president's press briefing late yesterday, which explained what's at issue in the fourth stimulus. First, he starts with a series of standalone bills. I want you to watch his message about these standalone bills because it's a big issue for purposes of SSI. You're going to hear why you're going to hear this video and think SSI as soon as you hear this video. Listen in together.
And today, we're meeting we're having an economic briefing here with the team. I sent to Congress my funding priorities for the appropriations process, including 2 key public health initiatives that I'm pushing. First is, like DARPA and the Defense Department, which was designed to develop and has developed breakthroughs to protect us and enhance our physical safety. I'm proposing a $6.5 billion appropriation for what we call ARPA-H, which is focused on focused on health issues. This is a pioneer breakthrough that we hope we can detect and treat, prevent diseases like Alzheimer's and diabetes, and give us a chance to end cancer as we know it, because we'll focus exclusively on those items. And secondly, I'm proposing a historic funding increase of 50% of $4 billion and the opioid crisis, which still ravages the country and has taken so many lives over the last 2 years. Resources, both the states and the tribes, for treatment as well as prevention. It also includes the single largest funding increase ever for Title I schools for disadvantaged schools, to lift up the millions of children in low-income families. And it'll put them in a position where all the data is, I've talked a lot about this, the data shows that it puts a child from a household that is a lower income household in a position, if they start school, not daycare, but school at 3 and 4 years old, there's overwhelming evidence that they were able to compete all the way through high school and beyond.
So the reason why I played that video for you, if it sounds slightly familiar to something you heard, it is. It sounds like the modifications of SSI reform. Remember, the president during his campaign stops said that he wanted to fix SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, and senior citizen recipient benefits by tying it to a new benchmark of CPIE, not COLA. You see what's going on in this video with the president holding the little note cards and saying, this is what I've announced to do today. This is among the things that he's had to get to, which he's been there for a few weeks, but it takes a lot of time to get through all the things you got to do as a president. And suddenly he's fixing things. So if you believe that the CPIE is where is the benchmark that your benefits should be tied to, not COLA, don't lose hope, because the president can still do that. He doesn't need an act of Congress. He just needs to have this press briefing and say, you know what, I've called up my department, the departments that handle this, and I've made the determination for them to change it. He can also increase particular funding. Thank you, Sandy, for coming to Purple Power. Welcome, Sandy, back for becoming to Purple Power. He can also call up the benefits department and increase the benefits for those that have to have benefits increase. Doesn't have to reach out to Congress to do it. That's why I played you this video. Meantime, later in the video, he talks about, later in this press conference, he talks about forced stimulus. Let's listen to that part of the video where he talks about forced stimulus during his press briefing.
It makes major investments in the fight against climate change. And there's issues that are personal to millions of Americans in the area of VAWA, because I get that asked and we get spoken to by everyone from mayors and governors, local officials of both parties. So I look forward to working with Congress to advance these and other priorities. I think we're going to be able to get, I'm hoping that we'll have some bipartisan support across the board. I've already spoken to some of my Republican colleagues about dealing with the infrastructure legislation we have up there, as well as other budget items. So we're going to work on seeing if we get some bipartisan support across the board here, but that's what we're about to do now. We're going to talk about our economic priorities and we get the brief from the team. Thank you all for coming.
Let me also give you a long shot view so you see who was in the actual room during the press briefing. Not a lot of people. The vice president on his right, the Janet Yellen, his Treasury Secretary on his left. Thank you, Barbara, for the dime lemon. I really appreciate it. And his chief economic council member, the man with the suit on the left. Not a lot of people in the room. Thank you for the dime lemon. Here's what you need to know, and this is what's very important, is that in his press briefing, he talked about reaching out to Republican colleagues. If you saw throughout this day, out through the week, you saw me deliver you that video where he says, darn it, and he really loses his cool, damn it. He says, Republicans cannot agree to do nothing. Well, yeah, they can. It's their prerogative. The president has three parts to his forced stimulus package. The first part is infrastructure. The second part is climate. And the third part is taxes. The Republicans say that climate is a non-starter. They're not going to do climate. They're not going to spend one penny on climate. And so they don't even have to get to the third issue, which is taxes. They say, we're not going to give you any money for climate. The president says doing nothing is not an option for him. Well, the Republicans have made it clear they're not doing climate, hence there's no deal. This is what you need to know. The Republicans don't want to give you a stimulus check, let alone a monthly stimulus check. And they've already said the bill, for purposes of them, is dead on arrival because they're not going to do climate. Thank you, Sally, for the dancing pair. I really appreciate it. So what's important to understand is you need to push Purple Power. Hashtag MSC, hashtag Purple Power, because this bill needs to go to the Senate as soon as possible. In the video right after this, I'm going to go live and I'm going to answer your questions, jump into the live chat and interact with you. But I'm more importantly going to also explain the whole process of how to get this bill from here to the finish line. It's very, very important. I'm going to show you why the president's talking about one thing, the senators, the Democratic senators are talking about another thing, and the Republicans are talking about a third thing. But you and I are only talking about one thing, stimulus. So join me in that big video coming up right after this. I'll explain how those stimulus checks get in there, when they get in there, and why you need to push Purple Power, hashtag MSC, hashtag Purple Power, and share these videos on Twitter, Facebook, and call up your elected officials. Stay with me. That's coming up right after this. But first, if you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. Stay informed, stay focused. I'll be back in just 3 minutes from now with a continuation of Mornings LALATE. Have a great morning. I'll see you in about 3 minutes. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay LALATE for more.